Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor as due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone that rule well, and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Knows in the gospel broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit from the Savvy Sav show. She was going into this shooter, or alleged shooter, which we know it was all. It's getting real sloppy. But basically, long story short, she was going into this whole thing with this guy allegedly trying to make an attempt on Trump's life, which, all these things are, the world is a stage. But she was breaking down on how, the guy had anti-Christian beliefs and this and that. But there's another video that goes into how this man was like gung-ho Christian, and he was just like the scholar and all this other shit, and how they just pick people and they use AI to push certain narratives in order to get a plot, so to speak. And the reality of it is that they're going to use scenarios like this against the men of the Lord, up against us, because that's what Esau do, and he needs to find a scapegoat, in order to fulfill his new world order and to get favor, so to speak, by demonizing the men of the Lord. So he's going to come with all types of attacks and false flags, attacks and narratives to be justified on raiding out anything he perceives a threat to his new world order. Okay, so while we said that persecution is going to come, you notice that these attacks and these shooters are looking more and more Israelitish, to say the least, which is all propaganda and bullshit. But anyway, fair use, fair use. I'm going to play this video. Then I'm going to play a couple of minutes about redacting, and we'll get a couple of precepts. But the time is near, brothers. Stay vigilant.
I don't remember them doing this to, what's his name? Was it Timothy McVeigh? I don't remember them doing this to Timothy McVeigh. Do you remember them stripping Dylan Roof? No. I don't think this is normal protocol. But that's not even the craziest part about all this, okay? Check this out. According to a Fox News reporter, the shooter's manifesto said he wanted to target Trump administration officials. Investigators also found extensive anti-Trump and anti-Christian rhetoric across his social media accounts. See where I'm going with this? According to reports, Allen's brother alerted New London Police Department after receiving the alleged manifesto before the incident. So he sent the manifesto to his brother.
And that show you right there that they just putting shit, that they making shit up as they go, because he had anti-Christian beliefs. He was anti-Trump. He donated $25 to Kamala's campaign. And then he told his brother about a manifesto. Like, if somebody was going to do something, they were just going to do it. They ain't going to leave no manifestos and none of that garbage. They going to do what they got to do because it's in their spirit to do it. Which shows you that Esau's narratives is getting very sloppy. As the scriptures say that as he's trying to fulfill his new world order, he was going to be in straits. And this is part of the straits because it's getting sloppy. And anybody that believe this shit, hey, they just lost. Because we got to understand, he's going to try to make these things stick. Even if the public accepted the opinion of it or not, he's going to make it stick because he's going to try to make it stick. So once they start rolling on the man of the Lord, hey, beware of these dudes that switching up the doctrines too, man. Okay, there's a lot of these Jakes that was in Israel, that was formerly part of One West. A lot of them are deviating from the script now. Okay, a lot of them are telling you that the name of the Lord is not Yahweh Shai. You can call on Yehoshua and all this other madness. A lot of guys are not teaching on the chip. They have a lot of holes in their doctrines, and Jake is beating around the bush. And the reason why they're doing this is because they're not trying to be implicated when the persecution comes. But wait a minute, man. If you want the kingdom, then you got to go through the straits, man. And a lot of Israelites, they don't want to go through straits, but they want the benefits of the kingdom because they don't have faith, man.
Before this, allegedly, U.S. Secret Service and Montgomery County Police Department later interviewed Allen's sister, Avriana Allen, at the family home in Rockville. Key points from the interview. She said her brother often made radical statements and spoke about doing something to fix today's world. Here we go.
You hear that? Fix today's world. So when you listen to a lot of the talking points of the Israelites, we always call for a new kingdom. Okay, we call for the deliverance of the elect with the fall of this modern day system. So with those particular narratives, Esau can very well use those and say, see, these guys are violent. They're talking about they need another world. They're talking about overthrowing the government. And we never said anything about us overthrowing a damn thing. But what we do teach is that the one who you ignorantly call God in Jesus Christ, which their name is Yahweh, Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew, will come and set his people free. And they know that. Okay, they understand that it's a different power that's coming to take the rulership. And Esau's afraid of that. All right, so in order to keep that, he's gonna lose it, man. Revelation 12:12. Oh, the devils come down to you having great wrath because he knows he have but a short time. So Esau's getting ready to bring the whole goddamn thing down, and he's getting ready to take everybody down with him. All right, that's why this time is very, very important to stay locked in, because if not, then hey, count yourself a casualty.
Vocabulary: radical. She confirmed he brought 2 handguns and a shot.
Now look at it. Look, it's looking more familiar, ain't it? You can look at the different camps and find a brother that look like this. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing they got to do is put a little bit more beard on him, maybe a fro. I mean, a haircut is alright, but deep fake it or AI, because they showed you in one video how they use AI to put him in different clothing. So just imagine what they're gonna do to the prophets, man. It's easy for them to deep fake us. And this is what we've been saying. 30 seconds of a sound bite of your voice. Hey, you can write a whole goddamn movie script off AI now.
Gun from Cap Tactical Firearms and stored them at their parents' home without their knowledge. He regularly trained with those firearms at shooting ranges. He reportedly was linked to a group called the Wide Awakes. Pay attention. Radical.
That shit sounds sloppy. A group called Wide Awakes. Now, once again, we claim to have the truth because we have the truth. But see, we're woken, you know, we're up, we're you know, the scriptures tells us in Ezekiel 38 that the valley of dry bones, and we was going to get life in us. So this mass awakening, Esau thinks he's slick. He's using certain talking points in order to eventually point the narrative at us. It ain't gonna work, but you know, you get the point. It ain't gonna stop him from trying to roll on us and lock us up based on false narratives, false talking points.
Wide Awakes. This is the organization. He also attended a No Kings protest in California. Does everybody get the narrative that they are trying to form? Here was this radical, gun-toting leftist who went to this anti-Trump protest, and he was a part of this radical leftist group. And I told you guys before, the Trump administration is looking to find ways to basically clap down on the pro-Palestinian groups. Any of these left organizations like Code Pink or Party for Socialism and Liberation, they're looking to clamp down on anti-capitalist, anti-war organizations. That's why I told you to pay attention to the vocabulary. So we just happen to meet all those marks. 2, according to them, he sent the manifesto to his brother before he went there. If someone was dead set on accomplishing their mission, why would they send their manifesto to a relative that could give them away before they even had the chance to finish the job? Tell me.
Prove that not everything can be an album cover.
All right, so hold on real quick. Let's do this. It was Acts 21, Proverbs 109. We're going to come back to this. Psalms 109. Straits. Job 20, and I'm gonna start at verses 22. It says, "In the fullness of his sufficiency, he should be in straits. Every hand of the wicked should come upon him." Right? And you look up the word straits, it goes into a position of difficulties. Right? It goes into the word of Yasharah, right? Which means to bind, to be distressed, be in distress, cramped, narrow, scant, be in straits. All right, suffer distress. Yeah, because everybody's catching on to his narratives. Okay, everybody's waking up to the fact that it's nothing but lies and propaganda. We're not saying that people don't get hurt and things don't happen, but Esau, he's getting sloppy with his moves, man. Okay, so this is the book of Psalms 109, and I'm gonna start at verses 2. It says, "For the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are open against me, and they have spoken against me with a lying tongue." Same thing they did with Yahushua. They set up false witnesses to accuse Yahushua of pretty much high treason, man. All right, same thing they're gonna do with us. Well, when you guys was on America, you was shouting DTA, or you was saying America's gonna be destroyed. You had nuclear missile signs out posing a threat to the country. I'm like, yeah, this is an expression of freedom of speech. All right, we didn't do anything wrong. This just was written in the Bible. This is why in certain countries they want to ban the scriptures. All right, but how does us posting things that's gonna happen make us a direct threat to your society when we don't possess these capabilities of even doing remotely have the damage that these other nations can do? And they know that, but shoot the messenger. That's what it's about. And it's all part of, the straight gate that a lot of you Israelites do not want to go. Okay, a lot of Israelites do not want to be part of that straight gate because they've received their consolation on this side. All right, it says here, "They compassed me also about with words of hatred and fought against me without a cause." It says, "For my love, they are my adversaries, but I give myself into prayer, and they have rewarded me evil for good and hatred for my love." Like Apostle Tara say that we're a truth group. We're a love group. We're a truth group because in order to tell your people the truth, you got to love them, no matter how harsh it is, man. All right?
Doesn't make any sense, does it? Part of the manifesto here, I'm not going to read all this. It is kind of, it's sus as hell. But it says, "Hello, everybody." So I may have given a lot of people surprise today. Let me start off by apologizing to everyone whose trust I abused. I apologize to my parents for saying I had an interview without
See, that's stupid. Ain't nobody gonna do all that shit, man.
specifying it was for most wanted. I apologize to my colleagues and students for saying I had a personal emergency. By the time anyone reads this, I probably most certainly do need to go to the ER, but can hardly call that not a self-inflicted status. I apologize to all the people I traveled next to. Like, guys, I apologize to everyone who abused and or murdered before this, to all those who suffered before I was able to attempt this. And then there's this part. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. What my representative do reflects on me. And I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. So this goes back to the Epstein thing, right? Let's go to this part. Secret Service, they are targets only if necessary. Hotel security, not targets if at all possible. Capitol Police, same as hotel security. National Guard, same as hotel security. And hotel employees, not targets at all. Objection 1, as a Christian, you should turn the other cheek. Rebuttal, turning the other cheek is for when you yourself are oppressed. I'm not the person.
You see, so they have all these Christian talking points, and you notice for the longest we've been going back and forth with these wacky tacky Christians that we told them, which they're stupid as hell. A Christian, you're a fucking waste of time, man. Only waste of time dealing with them because they don't know nothing. But nonetheless, you notice we've been going back and forth with these Christians, and look what it's brought about. It's been nothing but chaos, man.
Sexually assaulted in a detention camp. I'm not the fisherman executed without trial. I'm not a school kid blown up, or a child starved, or a teenage girl abused by many criminals in this organization. So you see what I notice here? The detention camp, obviously talking about Gaza. This is not a convenient time for you to do this. Rebuttal. I need whoever thinks this way to take a couple minutes and realize the world isn't about them. Guys, again, who sends all this to their relative? Objection 5, yield unto Caesar what is Caesar's. The United States, this is rebuttal. The U.S. are ruled by law and not any one or several people. So, guys, again, it seems convenient, doesn't it? Seems convenient. But very weird to me that you would send that to someone before you did what you were planning to do, knowing they could turn you in. And you would not accomplish that. That was very strange to me.
Who are we waiting for, Grandpa?
Your future husband.
He must be a millionaire, or maybe even a billionaire, right?
No, he's a janitor.
I connect this to this. I showed this in a previous video, but this is one of the things that people need to pay attention to. There were documents and photos linking the U.S. President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein projected onto the Washington Hilton. This was before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And when I show you this, the question you need to ask, this was right before the Correspondents' Dinner, why wasn't security more strict? Right? All right, listen.
Dear President Trump, this building is the Washington Hilton Hotel. You'll soon be arriving here as the guest of honor at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But the fact is, you, the President of the United States, are right now engaged in a massive cover-up of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. To date, your administration has only released about half the Epstein files. Of those that have been published, hundreds of pages have been blacked out entirely, and the names of many powerful men have been redacted, including, in some cases, your own name. Where you have been named, the files are damning. In one email from 2011, Epstein wrote to his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, expressing surprise that you hadn't yet been publicly accused of complicity in his activities. Epstein emailed...
So I told you, man, that whole Epstein shit ain't coming nothing. Everybody screaming, release the files, and y'all people ain't do shit, so what's the point?
Here is the official story that we are being told about this latest assassination.
Let's get a couple precepts, though, real quick. Then we'll go there. But, anyway, let's keep going. It says, set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand. And when he should be judged, let him be condemned, and let his prayer become sin. And let his days be few, and let another take his office, and let his children be fatherless, and his wife a widow. And let his children be continually vagabonds and beg, and let them seek their bread also out of the desolate places. Now it's going to come to reality for you devils, man. Okay, because you come up against us, man. Okay. Let's go to the book of Psalms 17. And let's start at verses 9. It says, from the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. They all around, man. And it says here, they are enclosed in their own fat, and with their mouth they speak proudly. It says, they have compassed us in our steps, and have set their eyes bowing down to the earth, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, as it were a young lion lurking in secret places. Yeah, man. Like I mentioned, Esau is just, he has this plan to accuse the men of the Lord. All right. Like the scriptures say, slander is thy mother's son. Psalms 50 and 20. Matter of fact, let's start at verses 19. It says, thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. It's all lies. When they come up against us, it's going to be based on lies. False witnesses. Hell, they get somebody to bag and say, yeah, this dude is a piece of shit. But yet, your ass is getting implicated in the EP files. But yet, because we have a talking point against a wicked satanic system, all of a sudden, we got to get our heads chopped off. But, that's part of the battle. And it says, thou sittest and speakest against thy brothers, and the slander is thy own mother's son. These things thou hast done, and I kept silence, though thou I was altogether such as one thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thy eyes, man. But the point is, Esau is going to come with a slander campaign, a smear campaign against anybody that speaks the truth or against anybody that seeks to expose his NWO. So, brothers, this ain't going to be a light time, man. All right? You're going to have to really hold the mantle and hold it down because, you know, like I said, Esau ain't going to play fair. Matthew 10, and I'm going to start at verses 16. It says, Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye there wise as serpents and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they would deliver you into their councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues, and ye should be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. So, hey, some brothers are going to get locked up for the word, and some brothers are going to have to give an account. And that is how Yahushua has it set up. You know, so whatever lot we may fall on, may the Heavenly Father and the Son be with us in these days to do what we need to do and pass the test, because it's all a test. And it says, but when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you should speak. It says, for it should be given to you that same hour which ye speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh against you, in you, Salakia. And the brother should deliver a brother to death, and the father the child, when the children should rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death, and ye should be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that endureth to the end shall be saved, which cuts that we already have salvation bullshit. Now, the elect already we saved from the foundation of the earth because it's written, but for a Christian to presumptuously say, yeah, I know I'm of the elect, that's cap, bro. Because we don't even know. We don't know if we're going to make it out of this thing. We don't know if we're going to continue to endure. That's what we hope and pray that we do. All right. So anyway, play a little of this.
Attempt. Saturday.
Find a point. Cole Allen. Peep this.
Tonight, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Lots of Northern Virginia wine moms and vainglorious members of the press corps gathered together. One of the most security-heavy events in Washington, D.C., because everyone knew that President Trump, the First Lady, the Vice President of the United States, all of them would be there. You don't want a repeat of Ford's Theater, do you? So security planned for weeks, of course, to protect them. That's what normally would happen. Then suddenly a gunman rushes through security in a mad dash. And by the way, the footage you're seeing here is the security camera footage that was shared by President Trump. And notice that it was filmed on one of those like Nokia flip phones from like 1995.
Most people's Ring doorbells look a lot better than that.
Yeah, my daughter's like 10-year-old iPad has a better camera than that. But this is what we get. So we have multiple weapons. He was armed with multiple weapons, shotgun, knives, and then suddenly gunfire erupts near the security screening area at the Washington Hilton. Authorities identified the suspect as 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen of Torrance, California. We're told that he showed up armed, shotgun, handgun, knives, opens fire near this security checkpoint. Secret Service then responds quickly. Trump is safe. No one was harmed. Inside the ballroom, President Trump talking with a mentalist at the time when a Secret Service detail tells him to get to the ground, get to the ground, get to the ground. But what was so weird about that whole thing unfolding is that just right down the table to the right, when the Secret Service rolls in, they break protocol and take J.D. Vance down to the ground and out before they get to the President of the United States, which, of course, is the reverse of what is supposed to happen. You go for the President of the United States first, but they went for him.
And none of it makes sense, bro. It's like, come with a better scenario.
Which is great. So case closed, all good, nothing to see here. And then the event organizers open the microphones back up saying, hey, we're back on. We're ready to carry on this thing once again. And President Trump holds a press conference and they come out and talk about it. But then you start digging into who this guy is. They released security footage almost immediately. And even President Trump posted on social media. Remember, we still don't have any security footage released from Charlie Kirk's assassination. Rooftop shooting with HD cameras all over that retrofitted university campus. State of the art, every corner covered, but we don't get to see that, of course. But this immediately gets posted. And then the picture they're painting is very familiar. We're told that he's a lone wolf. He allegedly travels across the country by train, checks into this hotel, writes a manifesto, which he has everything laid out, all of his targets. He sends this manifesto to his family and friends about 10 minutes before he bursts in there, runs through security. He lists Trump officials,
Like, who comes all the way from California just to do some shit like that? And you notice that was the same narrative with Kirk, with all those other assassination attempts. These men come from all the way to the other side of the country to do harm, right?
Ranks them from top to bottom in order of in order of importance. They're also telling us that he's got this mixed background. He's a teacher, tutor, programmer, Kamala Harris supporter, hangs out on Blue Sky, so he's a liberal. He left X to go to Blue Sky after Trump's inauguration. So there it is, like the clean narrative. He's radicalized individual, manifesto, hates Trump, loves Kamala Harris. He's got weapons, lone wolf, fast response. That's what you're supposed to walk away with. Trump goes on 60 Minutes, a program he sued during the campaign. So CBS News, which is an arm of the CIA, is now giving us the official story. Okay. But here's where it stops making any kind of sense. How does someone allegedly travel across the United States with multiple weapons, end up staying in the exact same hotel, hosting one of the most tightly secured political events in the country, a place where an assassin almost killed President Reagan in 1981? How does he get close enough to the screening area to open fire in the first place? Why are security guards just casually talking as he runs by? Why were early reports all over the place? He was dead. He was dead. Was he alive? Was he in custody? Kissy-faced influencers telling us he was dead. Like, after all of this, let me just take a little selfie here, a little kissy-face selfie. Shooter at White House Correspondents' Dinner is dead.
Wait, what? That's how she posted that?
Mm-hmm.
Shooter's dead, duck face? Okay. Already I was struggling with this because this is the room of the most odious class.
Right.
These are the people who either chose not to report on Epstein or chose not to prosecute him. Many of them were his friends and colleagues, and they are the victim class of the weekend. I'm struggling watching these people turn the camera on themselves to show us their own safety. I'm struggling here. I feel like a real asshole for not being able to muster the same sympathy as, let's say, a school full of dead girls. I'm really struggling, you guys. I'm not having nice thoughts about this. I need to go to therapy.
You got to work
a little bit more. All right, so here we go. This is here.
The assassin wasn't even on the FBI's radar. And when you read his most recent report, there's a lot of really interesting, really conflicting narratives emerging, some from the White House about Christianity and things that have just been never publicly available. So where are they getting this information from? And Ken joins us now. Ken, great to have you back on the show. Welcome back.
Hey guys, great to be back.
So just maybe you can walk us through what you discovered here and what your latest reporting says about not even being on the FBI's radar and these conflicting narratives that you're reporting on from the White House.
Yeah, unfortunately, when these incidents happen, there is a tendency for media to descend like vultures and kind of try to twist the story into whatever their preferred, good guy, bad guy narrative is. And I've covered several of these, unfortunately, attempted assassinations seem to be becoming more and more common. And what you find is often a much messier story behind the shooters than what is initially portrayed or really ever portrayed by the mainstream. A lot of what you guys pointed out, I think, is really important because that is a stunning security failure, which I think, if that's what it is even scarier than the idea that anything untoward happened and he was let in intentionally, because the federal government, if agencies like the Secret Service and FBI have one job, it should be to preserve, continuity of government. If they can't protect the president after Butler,
right,
they should be getting dragged for this. And I have hardly seen any criticism of exactly what you guys just laid out. How can this even happen?
Well, in your piece, you point out that this is the site of where Ronald Reagan was nearly assassinated. I mean, again, I use the Ford Theater as an analogy at the beginning because it was well known. President Abraham Lincoln was going to Ford's Theater with his wife. I mean, General Ulysses S. Grant was supposed to be there that night. At the last minute, he's pulled away, not there. But everyone knew they're coming there. So everyone knew the president was returning to the White House Correspondents' Dinner or going to be there for the first time. And all eyes on J.D. Vance and the President of the United States and Melania Trump and everyone was going to be there. And you're this lax with your security? It seems, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but it almost seems intentional.
Yeah, it's extraordinary because if you look at the alleged gunman's manifesto, he himself is grousing at it because he was making additions to it right up to, he had booked a spot in the hotel. And I saw on cable before I jumped on here, the U.S. government was making excuses and saying, "Oh, we had to break down our security because he booked a room beforehand, so it wasn't just some random." It's like you guys don't have a potentiality. You guys don't have a contingency for someone booking a room in the hotel like months before, right?
Like
So,
that's the loophole.
You're. And he points out in his manifesto, he says, if this was the Iranians, they could do a lot more damage than what I'm about to do here.
It's that one weird trick that Secret Service hates.
Yeah, Hotels.com had one extra, but otherwise.
It's the Priceline loophole. They can't figure that out.
Yeah, and so, you saw people like, I think it was Carrie Lake saying to the media, like, you did this because you made Trump such an odious character, you're radicalizing people. Is anyone falling for that shit right now? It's so-and-so's fault for hateful rhetoric. Like, come on. It's too late for that.
It's always the same thing. Oh, it's not our fault. It's your guys' speech. And so we're going to have to curtail it because we weren't able to do our jobs with your money. You are going to have to express yourselves less. That's basically what they're saying. It's just
Slack your brothers. I'm trying to find out one part. But anyway, this is the book of Acts 21, and I'm going to start at verses. Matter of fact, let's go here. Let's do it in the scriptures. Acts 21. I mean, that was scriptures too, but it goes to Paul at Jerusalem. Well, let's go. Because Paul was seized out of the temple. It says, and when the 7 days were almost ended, the Jews which were in Asia, because you're going to have wicked jakes too, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him. What did it mean by laying hands on him? Meaning they put hands on him. It says, crying out, men of Israel, help. This is the man that teacheth all men everywhere against the people and the law in this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple and have polluted the holy place. So they was getting on Paul for teaching what they thought to be heathen salvation, or the fact that Gentiles, which were Israelites, which the circumcision were very aware of, that you had Israelites that was dispersed among the heathen. And they felt that he was bringing them in the fold without them having to go through the necessary provisions of keeping the law, statutes, and commandments like the circumcision was. But Paul was just saying, look, there's a buildup in faith that's required for them to get to that point. So be patient with them. But Jake always had that high and mighty outlook. And it says here, for they have seen before with him in the city of Trophimus and Ephesian, whom they supposed that Paul had brought into the temple. And all the city was moved, and all the people ran together, and they took Paul and drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut, so they kicked him out. It says, and they were about to kill him. Tidings came unto the chief captains of the band that all Jerusalem was in an uproar. So, because of what he taught, he got hands put on him, who immediately took soldiers and centurions and ran down unto them. And when they saw the chief captains and the soldiers, they left of beating Paul. You see the point? He got beat up. And the chief captains came near and took him and commanded him to be bound with 2 chains, and demanded who he was and what he had done. And some cried one thing, and some among the multitude. And when he could not, it says, and when he could not know the certainty of the tumult, he commanded him to be carried into the council. And when he came up upon the stairs, so it was that he was born of the soldiers of the violence of the people, and the multitude of the people followed after, crying, away with him. So you see, Paul went through it. Hey, we got to go through it. Maybe not to this magnitude, and some brothers will, but as a collective, we got to go through something to get the kingdom through straight. So the demonization is part of the persecution, And it says here, and Paul was Paul was to be led into the council, when he said unto the chief captains, may I speak unto thee? It says, who said, canst thou speak Greek? It says, art not thou that Egyptian? Which proves he was a black man, or so-called black man, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers. Okay? So that's the point, man. So, yeah, man, persecution is coming. Yahweh Shai said it. John, 15? And 18, and it says, if the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. And if you were of the world will love his own. But because you're not of the world, but I've chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. So this world hates us. Remember the word that I said unto you, that the servant is not greater than his Lord. It says, if they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. And have kept my sins, they will keep yours also. But all these things they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. So there you go. So anyway, I'm going to play a little bit more of this video, but I'm going to end it here on this note. All praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, and you be edified. To the next lesson, Shalom. And I think this guy may be a small hat. Klippenstein, that's a small hat name.
Reading the manifesto, I go through and on the social media accounts, before they were taken down, of course, because we're not allowed to know anything. It's very frustrating. But a lot of the posts were cached. And I realized not only is this guy not anti-Christian, at least from his point of view, this guy is a devout, like Christianity was central to his worldview, and not just right up until the week of the shooting. He's making posts citing the book of Revelations and comparing Trump to the Antichrist and, all these things I don't agree with, but it's like clearly, embedded in the Christian eschatology. And that wasn't just a momentary thing where he, had a dalliance with religion. He was the head of some Protestant Christian chapter while he was at Caltech as an undergraduate. And when I interviewed his friends, I always just go out and say, anybody who wants to talk to me, anything I can verify, I will publish. Like I'm not looking for a certain thing. And what I heard again and again was this guy was very serious about his religion, not the type that was going around evangelizing, but he was like, it was his organizing framework for seeing the world. So I don't know where Trump got that from. If I'm cynical, I'll say he's trying to echo National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, which I think I talked about last time I was on, which is his attempt to cast speech as predictors of future acts of terrorism. And so he has a bunch of criteria for it. And one of them is anti-Christian sentiment. And so I don't know if he's trying to squeeze this into that framework, or maybe that's just how he views the world, and he sees the investigator's curse. He sees things that aren't there because it's the patterns he's looking for. I can't tell you that, but what I can tell you is there's absolutely zero evidence for that this person was anti-Christian, and there's an abundance of evidence that he was really motivated by Christian theology.
That's wild. So now, another thing some social media accounts have had in common is they're saying, well, this wouldn't have happened if we did have this new ballroom. Here's a screenshot of all the influencers saying the new ballroom itself would have prevented this. That just seems so dumb.
Well, and this was all coordinated influencer posts almost simultaneously.
Right. What can we make of this?
I thought it was grotesque because we're talking about a situation in which, humans almost got killed, and you're immediately going to make it not even about something that would prevent the next one, but for some design and decor kind of like I don't really have a view on it. I don't care. Like,
right.
Sure, whatever.
Something
I don't know.
I wrote about this morning in the newsletter is it feels very Hunger Games because again I point out that this is a ballroom full of unrelatable people. Most of them have refused to report honestly about the war in Gaza, the war in Ukraine, the Epstein class, continued human trafficking. They don't report on it, and they get this reward of a 4-course dinner and a ball gown for it, or they protect those things. They're either the political or the media elite, and their answer to this is fancy new digs. It just rings to me so grotesque and out of touch. Can you comment on that this sort of victim class we're being asked to empathize with over the weekend?
Yeah, this is part of the story of a lot of these politically motivated violence that media doesn't really talk about, which is to ask the question, why are there more of these cases happening? Not to justify it. I don't believe in violence at all. I'm a big fan of our free speech freedoms in this country, and to the extent that violence happens, that tends to undermine them. So I don't support it at all. But we should look at cases like these, see that this guy went to Caltech, seems very smart as far as I could tell. Friends described him as likable, not the usual profile of a shooter that you think of someone being like, really off-putting and